It was a fetid smell, and one that knocked Joey back like a punch in the face. Ugh, he groaned, his stomach churning and threatening to force its contents out through his curled lips. A loud crack suddenly rang out, and Joey instinctively dove to the ground. And a good thing he did. A baseball, which nearly crushed him in the face, bounced off the cold brick wall behind him. "Foul ball!" called a gleeful voice. Joey managed to hold his screams of terror, even after looking up into the smiling visage of Bob Smah. It was the face that had haunted him since first seeing it, pale and rotting and sickly, grinning and demonic, evil. The face of Bob Smah stared into Joey's own. Bob wore a baseball uniform, the design of which was seemingly from another era, but was embroidered with a single black skull across the front. "Man on field!" Bob called to someone behind himself, someone unseen in the darkness. Joey then saw Kevin standing further in the dark recesses of the cellar, still wearing his baseball uniform. He was robotically alternating between punching his fist into the baseball mitt and adjusting the ball cap resting on his head. He stood on a mound of rich brown dirt. Kevin was the pitcher. "Kevin?" Joey asked, and light directly into Kevin's face. His friend only continued to pound his glove and adjust his cap, over and over, endlessly. Joey climbed to his feet and began to walk to Kevin when Bob Smah stepped into his path. "Just in time, Joey," he called happily. "We need someone to play catcher." Green-tinted breath leaked from his mouth like a rusty gas pipe, and the stench filled Joey's nose. He ignored his sudden nausea and shined his light into the far corner of the basement where Barry stood, bent at his waist, his hands resting on his knees. He was playing outfield, and in the ready position. An impossible sea of green gas surrounded him. "Barry!" Joey called to his friend, but like Kevin, Barry did not respond. "Game on!" called an invisible crowd, and Joey looked sharply to his left and right, shining his flashlight wildly around to locate the phantom audience. "What is going on?" Joey demanded. "A baseball game," Bob called triumphantly, and the unseen crowd cheered. "What have you done to my friends?" Joey demanded, looking back and forth between Kevin and Barry. "They joined my team," Bob happily called. "My baseball team, and now we're playing a game." The rogue baseball, previously lost in the dark gloom of the basement, rolled from its corner of blackness and hopped from the floor into Bob's hands. He turned and tossed the baseball to Kevin, who effortlessly caught the ball and immediately pitched it back to Bob. "Out of the batter's box, Joey," Bob called and swung the bat with great force. Joey ducked at the last second, feeling the swish of the bat over his head as it connected with the ball. "Home run!" Bob called. He dropped the wooden bat and vanished into the distant darkness as he ran each base, all while the phantom crowd cheered Bob on and chanted his name. And as he ran, the walls suddenly expanded, as if making room for his victorious tour around the bases. "Bob! Bob! Bob!" the phantom crowd cheered. Kevin, all the while, stared back at Joey with his dead, dark eyes, unseeing and empty. "Kevin, wake up!" Joey called. "We gotta get out of here!" Kevin punched his baseball glove and adjusted his hat, his emotionless eyes seeing nothing at all. The unseen crowd continued its cheer. "Bob! Bob! Bob!" "Barry, come on!" Joey called into the outfield as Bob rounded second and headed for third. Barry was motionless, still bent at the waist, still waiting for a fly ball to catch. "Bob! Bob! Bob!" Bob rounded third and headed for home, his hat in his hands and waving it to the crowd. He slid home gracefully and then got up, jumping up and down in happiness. The crowd's chanting of Bob's name then slowly began to drone to a halt, like a tape player with a battery gradually dying. The voices groaned to almost silence, falling several octaves until it sounded like nothing more than a deep, blowing wind. Bob turned to Joey, burning white fire in his black eyes. "New inning, new position," he said, grabbing at Joey's shirt with his powerful hand. "You're gonna be our catcher, forever." "No!" Joey called out and beat at Bob's hand. "We came here to help you." "I don't need help," he growled. His green and foul-smelling breath wafted from his mouth like smoldering candle wicks. "I need a good defense." Joey's skull began to tighten, and he dropped heavily to his knees as thin bars of metal materialized and began to stretch down his face, one after another, until a catcher's mask had formed. He moaned in pain,